Yo, yo. Yo, what is up? I'm back with another breakdown, man. It is Tuesday. It is currently 6:50 p.m. I'm going to be breaking down gold and the trades that I've taken since Sunday roll over to Monday, and then Monday going into today, and my London session trades for both days. It's been a little challenging trying to execute, but I've been able to come out profitable for the past 2 days, and I've been able to take some good trades, despite starting the day maybe with a small loss. But just being able to adapt and look for my confirmations and have confidence has been the defining factor in allowing me to execute efficiently and come out profitable for those days. So I'm gonna just hop right into it and get the ball rolling, man. So let's hop into this breakdown. So for gold, we know, if you guys have been watching my past videos, that gold is in a daily range, from this high around 34.30 to this low at around 32.40. So we see here that we have our high up here, and the last time we've touched this area, we've pretty much have been counter trending bearish based off daily bullish structure. You see here higher low, and then you have this bearish push down to hopefully get to a new higher low point, or hold this current higher low point here to then see a bullish transition to then get back to the upside. Now, based off our price action for last week Monday, we tested our daily low of this range, and once we tested this daily low, we also tested and closed back above our last daily higher low point, right here at around 33.08. 33.08 right in here, as you guys can see. So this was our last higher low. This was our daily low. Price came barely exhausted off of this level, and then you see here we have a daily bullish engulfing that closed right above this daily higher low point. Now, Thursday of last week, we formed a daily lower high point, as you guys can see here, with a bearish engulfing that took about 2 days. Now, if we scale down to our smaller time frames, we could see here that we have a 4-hour lower high point that was tested in this area but formed last week. So let's go down to our 4-hour time frame. Okay, we see here on our 4-hour time frame, we have a lower high point here. We have lower high, and once we came back up to this last lower high point, we see here we tested it with this bullish bearish candle, followed with another bullish bearish candle here, another bullish bearish candle here, showing that we are currently respecting bearish structure, and we may continue to push down as long as we get a bearish transition on your smaller time frames, and everything makes sense to form lower high points to then get back down to this 4-hour overall higher low point here. So we're gonna go ahead and break this down on the smaller time frame, so we see how this week's candle opened and how we were able to execute and what we were looking for based off overall structure. Now, price action may seem a little confusing just based off of daily time frame still being bullish even though we're on a counter trend, and 4-hour time frame being bearish even though daily may still give confirmation to execute buy opportunities. So let's go down to our 30-minute. Once we clarify that we've tested this 4-hour lower high point, I'm gonna go ahead and add a note on this, so we don't lose sight of exactly what we're looking for. Okay, I'm tripping. Let's see, text. So this is our 4-hour lower high point. Perfect, 4-hour lower high. So now we're gonna go from this 4-hour lower high to our 30-minute. Now we see here to end last week, we had this bullish transition up based off our last 4-hour higher low point, also testing our daily low. We had a bullish transition. You had a higher low point here. We had that push up to the upside. We had that 4-hour lower high point get tested. we had price respect the high, came down testing this higher low structure that could have possibly given us buy opportunities. And I did execute buy opportunities, I believe, in this area on Thursday. I don't recall though. But if any of you guys are interested in looking at those trades, I did break that down. You guys could go ahead and check out my last video that I dropped last week. So we see here we tested bullish structure. Price pushed up, testing this bearish transition area right in here. Then you got that lower high point right in here based off your 30-minute time frame. Price pushed down. Then we see here as we began pushing bearish, we had our Sunday open right in this area. So you do have this higher low point, lower high point, price pushed down, giving indication that we could potentially push back up to that 4-hour lower high point based off like a minor transition if anyone was looking for that to start the week. So price gapped up. We had that bearish push down. Now as we continue to push down, I was looking for sell opportunities to start the week. Now the reason I was looking for sell opportunities, one reason being we had two 4-hour candle closes of straight bearish momentum, giving a strong indication that we can continue to push bearish back into these lows down here, going into 3270 and potentially 3250. Now, of course, this would have been a major push, but I didn't really think that price had the momentum to do that, just because this is a strong support area. Based off our 4-hour time frame and our daily time frame, we had that push down. Price came back up. So as long as we maintain this, so this was pretty much my TP1. We'll just leave it at that. This is a 4-hour TP1 zone, a 4-hour support zone, but also a daily support area as well. So this would have been my TP1 area for sales, just to clarify that. So now, once we go down to our 30-minute time frame, we do have a lot of volume, which is good, but we want to see more details. So let's go down to our 5-minute time frame. So we see here on our 5-minute time frame, let's change this to like a very light blue, okay? And then we have our resistance. So we have our support here that formed at around 625 on Sunday open, and then we had our resistance that formed around 645 on Sunday as well. So price found resistance, came back down to support. You had a minor lower high point, a high point based off this area here. So you see price testing this area. Price pushed back down, came up, formed another lower high point right in here. Now, once we got this lower high point, it gave at 12:30, 12:35, around 12:45, I executed based off this 5-minute bearish engulfing right in here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this orange so you guys can see that. So we had a 5-minute bearish engulfing. I was anticipating that we were going to touch this transition area just based off of this. So we had resistance, turned support all in here. Then we had resistance again. And then what did that same level of resistance do? It got tested at support, and then it respected, and then we had this strong bullish push. So what I was looking for after this engulfing was to make sure that we still had momentum. So I entered off this 5-minute time frame. I seen about 70 pips in profit, but I was targeting this low at 3296.6. So we go down to our 30-minute time frame to see what the volume looks like. Price gave us a strong bearish engulfing candle right in here, and then we had this follow up with this bullish candle. Now at that point in time, it is 1 a.m. so we are currently in London session at the opening. So even though price did form a bullish candle closure, and it was a large candle, it still wasn't able to psych me out. One, it not being a bullish engulfing, and then two, it being pretty much London open. So London open tends to give a like manipulation candle and tends to accumulate liquidity before actually going its designated way. which in this case was to the sell side. So our confirmations were that our 4-hour time frame was bearish. We had a 5-minute lower high point hold, followed by a new lower high point, which gave us that bearish engulfing or a bearish variation that I had highlighted here, which made sense to execute for sales. And then I pretty much just held throughout this area since we were not able to break this high right in here. So as long as we didn't break this high, then we were pretty much good. Now, of course, price could have still shot up, tested this level of a resistance, consolidated, and then made its way back down, which would have still been good to execute as long as we held that area of resistance at 33.19 that formed right in here. So since price tested this area here, I was still confident in holding my sell opportunity, and sure enough, it did pay. I maybe had to hold for maybe about like 3 hours, up to 3 hours until price hit TP, but it was all worth it only because we still had that bearish momentum. Price never broke any level of resistance, showing that we were going to switch, and we didn't really have a bullish confirmation on our larger time frames that was showing that buyers were picking up strength in the market. So that gave me more confidence to hold this this entry. As you see here, when we got that 30-minute bullish close up, 1 hour time frame was closing bullish with a lot of exhaustion at the outside. We never really had a bullish engulfing candle, so that gave me more confirmation to hold this trade. And now this also had a little bit to play with experience, because most people would have executed off of this 4-hour low and anticipated buys to the upside. Now, there has been many times where I executed buys and they didn't play out, and I was over anticipating, which led to taking a loss and me missing the actual move for the session, which would have been sales in this case scenario. Now, going into New York session, you see here that this low actually got respected, and we ended up playing bullish once we got a break of our counter trend line opportunity here, based off of our daily time frame. That is a counter trend line, but based off of our 4-hour and 30-minute time frame, that is a bearish trend line opportunity. So yeah, this would have been an entry during New York session. Once we seen these higher lows accumulate on your smaller time frame, you could have definitely been looking to execute buys. This would have been your more conservative entry for that session once you got an engulfing candle close here or right in here. So this would have been two valid areas. We broke above our trendline opportunity, tested the backside with two bullish engulfing confirmations based off your 5-minute time frame and based off your 15-minute time frame right in here, even though this would have been a little sketchy, but I would have executed here for a conservative entry. Had my stop loss maybe for about 100 pips, since it's below our trendline opportunity that we broke above. So we would be anticipating that this will hold now as a level of support, but also we have a break of this minor level of resistance, and we tested the backside based off this bullish engulfing candle and then this doji candle right after, and then you could have been targeting the upside for about a 1 to 3 risk to reward, depending on your stop loss. So this was my sell entry though for Sunday to Monday. Now going into session for Monday to Tuesday, we see here our 4-hour time frame. Of course, after we formed a higher low point based off your 4-hour time frame here, price came back up to our 4-hour lower high point, in which we did respect between the hours of 2 to 6 and then 6 to 10. Now we go down to our 30-minute time frame where we see here. So I'm gonna delete this, but I'm gonna make sure I break this down to the T, because I did take a loss going into session, but then I did recoup by trusting my analysis, having confidence in my entries, and realizing where we were at in the market. So this is our main area we want to focus on, is this support level. So this 30-minute level of support is going to be an area for buys that we want to execute if price is going to continue to push bullish. But another thing though, if we were to execute buys, we have to pay attention that we are buying right into our 4-hour lower high point that has been respected for, so this was Thursday, for Tuesday, Wednesday, which has been respected for about 3 days. We had that follow up with that lower high point. We had that bearish continuation sell off. We had price retrace, pretty aggressive, not really forming solid bullish structure. So price could have easily gave us lower high points and had a and continued to follow through with a strong bearish sell off. So once price came back up to this 4-hour lower high point, you see here, this would have been your area for buys. We had this bullish push up right in here. Now when we had that bullish push up until 10 p.m., let's go to our 30-minute time frame. We had a 5-minute bearish transition right in here. Let's see how we can draw this off. Boom. So you had a bearish transition. You had this area of resistance hold and got tested right in here. Now my mistake was going into Asian session, I was over anticipating buys. Once we got this 5-minute double bottom off our level of support, I executed once we tested resistance and found like this minor level of support, and I was anticipating that we would pretty much reach back up to our 4-hour lower high zone and maybe test it, or maybe get some sort of like shoulder or a head and shoulders type of pattern and then continue to push bearish, which we didn't get. So I did get stopped out of this trade, risking nearly 1% on all my accounts. Now once price came back down into that 30-minute level of support that I initially mentioned, I did acknowledge this before entering my buy positions, that this is my high confluence area for buys. Then once price got into this zone and began to test this level, I did get a bit emotional and not necessarily down talk myself, but pretty much check myself on why I didn't wait until we touched this level, and how I was pretty much over anticipating that we would push up without actually touching this level of a higher low, which price likes to do during Asian session, is touch structure, get like a manipulation type of move before actually pushing bullish. And to kind of give you guys a look of what I'm talking about, pretty much something like this. So if we push bullish, found support, and let's say we're entering Asian session now as these candles are forming, I would maybe enter on something like this. Price would give us a bullish push up, and then we would get a rapid push down into this area, maybe get a bearish push like this, and then you would actually see this. So to relate this to my scenario, I was entering in a zone right in here before price actually wanted to push bullish, when in reality this is the level I should have been waiting to get hit before actually entering for that high confluence buy move, based off that 30-minute level of support, having a valid stop loss area. And then this is where you get more risk, or you're able to have a less risk and have a higher reward than executing in an area like this and having to take on more of a risk, because you have to leave more wiggle room for price to breathe before actually flowing in the direction you're anticipating. So hopefully this diagram that I just drew out in this example makes sense to those who may not see it in current price action. So instead of me getting emotional, I just waited to see if this 4-hour lower high area would hold for sales. Once price began to push bullish, I then seen this area here form a higher low, and I was kind of emotional a little bit more in this area, because I began to think to myself like, damn, I missed the buy opportunity. I should have waited for 30-minute support to get hit. Went down to the smaller time frames, such as the 5-minute, to wait for those bullish engulfing candles to then execute. But what I did do in this area, once price did come up, I seen this like lower high beginning to form based off your 5-minute and your 30-minute time frame. I did execute for sales once we got this bearish candle at 10:30 to 11 to form. Once 5-minute gave us that bearish engulfing, I did execute sales here, and I did get stopped out for about 30 to 40 pips. 30 to 40 pips, which wasn't so good. But you know, you have to adapt in those scenarios. Now, I did re-execute. The reason I re-executed was because this was a 30-minute open. So once we got this bearish, this bullish move based off your 5-minute time frame, how I pretty much broke down right in here. Once we got this bullish transition, we got this bullish push up. Then for that 12 to 1 a.m. 30-minute and 1 hour candle, price flipped after touching this high here, which was a lower high point based off your 5-minute time frame. So once price came back up to that level of resistance and gave us this bearish engulfing, I did re-execute sales, anticipating that we would continue to sell off based off of our higher time frame, since we had a 4-hour level of resistance form and hold in this area. I had about a 40 pip stop loss, and I TP'd around 33.15 for about a 1 to 5 R to R, which played out beautifully. And I just held throughout all this consolidation and this minor retracement, which I was okay with since I initially took a loss. You know, I had nothing to lose at that point. I had confidence based off our 4-hour time frame that we would continue to hold. So this 4-hour candle and this 4-hour candle gave me all the confirmation I need leading up into 10 p.m. that we would continue to sell off. We were just getting this new 4-hour candle high before getting that continuation back to the downside. And sure enough, as we got that lower high point right below our 30-minute level of support, which is another area of confluence, price then did its job and continued to sell off, which played off in my favor, and I was able to cash out, ending the day profitable. You know, so that just puts me up on the week. But yeah, man, hopefully this breakdown makes sense. Hopefully you guys can see why I executed sales, how I was able to adapt, why my confirmations made sense to me, and how I was pretty much able to read the market in this point of area, or how I was able to read the market in this, how I was able to read the market at this point in time, since it was a little bit confusing for those that may not know how to trade gold, and for those that may not know how to read price action that may be printing pretty volatile. So yeah, man, hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and delete all these technicals, and I'm gonna break down what I will be looking for going into today's session. But for those that may not understand, man, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section. Maybe shoot me a message, and if there's any way I can assist somebody in this, you know, man, I definitely would love to. But hopefully these breakdowns, you know, shorten your guys' learning curve. Hopefully you guys are able to take something away and apply it to your guys' analysis. You know, that's definitely something that I want to do for you guys that may be watching my videos, because I know how hard it is, you know, to learn on your own. So we see here 4-hour time frame. We've tested our 4-hour lower high point. We're forming lower high points on the top end. We did form a higher low point before getting this last lower high point. So we see here that price is somehow building buyer's strength to a certain degree. Let's see if I can draw. Let's see if I can draw like a. Give me 1 second. Yeah, let's see if I could draw like a trend line opportunity and actually get a break. So 4-hour candle, bullish candle here, like right in there. Okay, that looks good for the most part. That looks good. Okay, we're gonna go from our 4-hour to our 30-minute. We see here based off our 30-minute time frame. Let's use a rectangle. Okay. Okay. So this is gonna be our support levels that we're looking at here, and then this is gonna be our level of resistance. So since we are testing our 4-hour support zone and our last higher low point based off our 4-hour time frame, we also got to keep in mind we are still counter trending based off our daily time frame. Daily time frame did close bearish. 4-hour time frame seems to be forming some level of support right in here. So I may even draw this random line. Let me delete this. Let's see. So we have that 4-hour median level drawn out. 30-minute time frame. Okay, not that. I don't like this zone here. Let's draw right in here. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm looking for. So we see here we are in this 4-hour support level area. Price seems to be holding this level of support. We do have a bearish candle close, a doji candle, kind of like a bearish pin bar, followed with a bullish candle, testing this level of support and closing back above. 30-minute 4-hour time frame for this candle looks like we are getting that bottom wick first. 30-minute time frame looks like we can just be forming some sort of consolidation. So what I'll be looking for going into session is maybe seeing if we can hold higher low points to then build up bullish strength to get out of this support zone, and then maybe begin to form higher low points based off your 30-minute time frame to get back up to the upside, so we can overall push with this daily time frame, since we are still testing this daily higher low point that was formed here before getting this bearish continuation. So we see here, this is all we've gotten. So as long as this area holds, we can definitely see that bullish push back up. So what I'll be looking for is to see if we form higher low points and get more sellers exhaustion. Then I will be looking for buy opportunities going into London session and potentially New York, man. So hopefully that breakdown makes sense, man. I know that was kind of long. I know I was kind of just like ranting and going off, but yeah, man, hopefully you guys can take something away from that. Hopefully you guys are killing it this week. Let's continue to, execute in the market, continue to have confidence, and just show up every day, man. If you guys have watched to this point in the video, I appreciate you guys for watching. Have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace out.